Hi, everybody. Welcome to day 5 of lesson 12. All right, so this is the day where you're actually doing some independent practice, but I wanted to do some work with you before you did the independent practice, and then I also want to give you a way to check your work. Since we're here in the lesson, that does mean we're getting ready for a lesson quiz. And just remember, the lesson quizzes are formative. We are going to give the quiz, even though right now we're working on learning remotely. But really what we're doing today is to try to help you get ready for that quiz. All right, so I've just put the goal for the entire lesson instead of a particular learning target today, because the idea today is we're going to actually pull several things together. Our goal is to use what we know about proportions to solve real world problems, and we are going to largely stick with percents today. I have 3 practices here that I think will be standing out in today's review lesson. First of all, make sense of problems and persevere in solving them. Right? We do have a few 2-step problems, some of them 3 maybe. Right? That does require a little grit, so you got to stick with it. Reason abstractly and quantitatively. So abstractly is more about working with equations, doing some algebra. Quantitatively is anything that has to do with numbers, and we're working with numbers, that's for sure. And then model with mathematics, right? I've got a couple types of models that we'll be looking at, some bar models and equations, right? And equations are actually a model. All right, here we go. Let's get started. Don't forget, you need to hand your work in. Some of your teachers are creating forms for you to fill out as you're watching videos. So if that's the case, please do that. That's a really good way to show us that you have watched the video. It's an accountability tool. If your teacher has not done that, no problem. Either create your own document on Google Docs, or you can take a picture of it if you do it with pen and paper. All right, so we're going to get started with this problem. So I'll just have you read it along with me. Suppose Jenna's Sporting Goods is having a clearance sale for all of their winter items. Everything is being discounted by 30%. How much would a pair of snowshoes that normally cost $85 cost with the discount? Don't worry about sales tax, because we'll be dealing with that in the next problem. All right, so what you need to do right now is just figure out, hey, what's Jenna going to pay? 30% off. The cost is $85, okay? All right, so pause the video here, figure it out, and then when you're ready, start it up again. All right, so I hope you've got some good responses here. I've got a couple of different models here. First one is the bar model. I just love the bar model. It's a really good visual of what's happening. So the regular price was $85. So let's say that's the total original price. The discount is 30%. That means Jen is paying 70%. I want to point out that whenever I'm looking at a discount, I pretty automatically start right away thinking about, all right, if it's 30%, what do I need to get up to 170? So Jen is paying 70% up. I'm just always trying to think of those combinations that make 100 anytime I'm working with percents, right? And I think you'll see why in just a bit. All right, so anyway, I decided, all right, well, let's cut this regular price up into little boxes worth 10%. So when I did that, each box is $8.50, meaning 10% of $8.85 is $8.50. That should make sense. And then 7 of those, which would represent 70%, which would be $59.50. So that's how much Jenna's going to pay. And then 3 of those, which represents 30%, gives you the discount. The discount's $25.50. And if you add these 2 together, you should get the $85, which you do. Let's take a look at this, right? If you decide to use an equation, there are a couple ways to do it. First of all, you could figure out the discount and then subtract, right? So I figured out 30% of 85. Note I've immediately gone to the decimal, right? And remember, I'm allowing calculators on this, although I think you should be able to do this out by hand, everybody, or even in your head, all right? All right, 3 groups of 85, and then work with the decimal point. Remember, estimating is a good idea as well, right? So I'd be thinking to myself, well, 30% of 85, That'd be 30% of 100 is 30, so it's got to be less than 30, right? Estimating first is also a good plan, so don't forget that technique. Anyway, when I did this, I got 25.50. Note that's the same as what I got up here, and then subtracted that from 85 for the 59.50. Right. Remember the whole thing I was talking about with the 70%? So here's just a one-step method. If you don't need to know the exact amount of the discount, then this is a fine method to use, and I kind of like it better because it's quicker. So I just went right away to figuring out 70% of 85. So I did 7/10 times 85, and I got 59.50 when I did that. All right, so notice we got the same answer 3 different ways. Good technique, particularly if you're doing high stakes testing. That means the grade's really important. It's a good idea to do things a couple of different ways if you've got time, right? If you're doing a time test, you might not have time to do that, but if you do, it's always a good idea to do that. All right, let's go on. All right, we're going to actually continue. All right, we're going to add a little bit to the problem we just did. All right, so we just figured out Jenna's paying $59.50 for her snowshoes. Let's say there's a 4% sales tax. That's kind of low in terms of sales tax, but for the sake of practicing, let's say it's 4%, right? Here's something really important to remember. So take a look at this sentence right here. Sales tax is always charged on the reduced price when there's a sale. Okay, so in this case, that would be the $59.50. That's a good thing to remember in life. Sales tax is never charged on the original. In this case, the sales tax is just charged on whatever you pay. Okay, makes sense? All right, so I want you to determine the price of the snowshoes after the sales tax has been added. So you're going to need to figure out the sales tax, and then you're going to need to add that on to the shoes. All right, so figure out how you're going to do that. All right, pause, and then I'll just get this started when you're ready. All right, back with you in a minute. All right, here we go. All right, so let's take a look at a couple of different models that I used. All right, you can see I got 6188. So if you're looking for the answer, that was my answer. Hopefully I did that right. All right, so first thing I did is I tried to figure out, well, what's a good bar model for this? 4%, 4%. So I'm thinking, well, how could I get the 100 divided down into little bits of 4? I'm like, here we go, 100 divided by 25. That's 4. So what I've done is I've got 25 little boxes here. This is helping me visualize what 4% would be. So then when I did that, I did 59.50 divided by 25. That gave me $2.38. So that tells me each of these boxes, which represent 4%, is equal to $2.38. So then that also must be what the tax is, because the tax is the 4%. So then I added that to the 59.50 and got 61.88. I'm just keeping this in mind too. And I bet some of you were thinking about this. I hope you were anyway. That if she's paying a 4% sales tax, then she's paying a total of 104%, right? Or I'm thinking in my mind 1.04, all right? And that is something that I used on the equations, all right? So first way, figure out 4% of 59.50. So note 0.04, don't forget about that, all right? Don't make that mistake of thinking 4% is 0.4, all right? 4% is 4 hundredths. So 0.04 times 59.50, that gives me 238, and then I just added that, right? And then some of you've already taken a look at this. Again, I call this the one step. I know it's 104%, so I actually did 1.04 immediately times 59.50, and that gave me 61.88. All right, so any way you do that, you should have 61.88. All right, so let's take a look at this then. All right, let me get my face out of the way here. Okay, so this is a new problem. We're no longer on the same problem with Jenna and her sporting goods thing, or her snowshoes. We're no longer doing the snowshoes. All right, we're looking at a baseball glove. All right, so let's say your great uncle saw a baseball glove on sale. He decided to buy it for you. He said the sale was 25% off and he paid $45. Right? We'll assume there's no sales tax on this purchase, which by the way is the case if you shop in New Hampshire. There's no sales tax in New Hampshire, right? Fun fact. All right, let's take a look at this then. Here's what you need to do. You need to determine the original price. All right, pause this, give it a shot. All right, here we go. All right, so let's take a look, see if we can figure this out. It's like, the original price. All right, now this time, I actually decided to put the original price on the bottom, right? Nobody said you couldn't. You know, you can do whatever you want with the bar model. Since I was looking for the original price, I thought it might make more sense to really kind of think about the discounted price and the discount first. But here's the thing. I know the original price is 100%. And I know that we're working in units of 25%. So I split this up into 4 groups because 100 divided by 4 is 25. So then each of these is worth 25%. That kind of made it kind of clear to me that the discount was $15. So then here's what I know. The discounted price must have been 75%, so that's another way to think about it. So that's 3 of these 25%. So this is the part that was paid. The discount must have been 15. So I just added the 45 and the 15 together to get to the 60. All right, that's what I would call a real concrete model. That's a great way to solve it, right? Love it. But let's take a look at the equation, which is more of what we would call the abstract model. So consider that your great uncle paid 75% of the cost. That percent sign is in the wrong place. It should be after this. I'm going to fix that on the slideshow, but for you guys, you'll have to stick with this being written incorrectly. Yeah, here it is. It's correct right here. So that means 75% of the original cost is $45. In algebra, when we don't know, we use a variable. So in this case, I'm going to use the letter G. So 0.75 times the glove is equal to 45. So 75% of the glove is 45. Then in order to figure out what G equals, we can divide. Remember that whole thing with the relationship between multiplication and division. So then what I'm going to do is 45 divided by 0.75. And when I do that, I get 60. So G must be 60. All right, again, more abstract. If you need to, you can back this video up to just go over this again, or you can reread this. That's the great thing about remote learning. All right, if you're all set, let's move on. All right, in this case, I want you to just put it all together here. All right, figure this out. This should be trail mix. Again, I need to fix up my slideshow here a little bit. But read this yourself. Try to solve it, right? So then when you're ready, I want you to go on to the next page and look at the solution. Okay, so here's the solution. All right. First of all, I figured out the cost of each box after shipping by doing 105%. Then I did the 120%, okay, because that's going to be my markup. So I multiplied my 210 by 1.2, right, and that gave me 252. So then for each box, it's going to be $2.10 plus 252. So I got 462. You did not get that? I'd like you to write that down on your paper. Like, I didn't quite get that. I don't understand, but I'd also like you to go back and check it out. Okay, last thing before you get ready for the lesson quiz. And by the way, this is a piece that you could possibly save until tomorrow just before you take the quiz. But problems 1 through 6, I'd like you to take some time to try to solve them. All right. So pause, and then when you're finished, come on back. All right, here are the solutions here. So I'm going to put my face right up here so you can see this. I want you to do what you often do. Compare your answers. And then if you had trouble with anything, please circle it so we know. Right? And I would use this to study from to help you get ready for the lesson quiz. All right? All right, last but not least, I want you to hand in today's work. All right? And then we'll be getting ready for the assessment. If you have questions about anything, email me right here, or you can email your classroom teacher. All right, hey, Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a really great day.